Hey, welcome to Literature and Culture, formerly Humanities. Before I get into what the difference between lit and culture is, I do want to take a little bit of time and just let you know what we're doing here in this video. All I really want to do is just kind of give you a preview of what this class is all about and what we're going to be talking about over the course of the year. So, what is the difference between literature and culture and humanities? Actually, not much really. Literature and culture is going to focus on most of the same units that humanities focused on, with some minor differences. And those are really going to kick in more in second semester. So some people have asked me why the change? Why now? Why did we go from humanities to lit and culture? And the simple answer is the NCAA. Some students who were taking humanities were not given English credit for taking the class because the title sounded like it was not rigorous enough for a high school student. Um, and that takes us to like, wait a second. So, what are the humanities? Fortunately, I got a picture of a humanity in the wild, and there he is. So, we're going to look at a couple of different definitions here of what the humanities are. Don't worry about getting any of this down. This is kind of just in the background. I want you to have it think about it and something we can talk about. So the humanities are those academic disciplines which study the human condition using methods that are largely analytic, critical, or speculative, as distinguished from the mainly empirical approaches of the natural and social sciences. So the big difference here is this word empirical um, versus the analytical, critical, and speculative. So there's a difference between studying the human condition that is analytical and not based on data, empirical things. The next definition that we have is the humanities are the stories, the ideas, and the words that help us make sense of our lives and our world. They introduce us to people we have never met, places we have never visited, and ideas that may never have crossed our minds. By showing us how others have lived and thought about life, the humanities help us decide what is important in our own lives and what we can do to make them better. By connecting us with other people, they point the way to answers about what is right or wrong. The humanities address the challenges we face together in our families, our cultures, our communities, our cities, and as a nation. Um, the big takeaway from that is that the humanities are all of the classes that are not in STEM, essentially. They are world language, they are social sciences, they are art, they are music, English. Um, they are the things that are not based on, again, empirical data. They're more subjective. We'll get into that in a little bit. So, what are exactly the fields? Um, First, according to the US Library of Congress, these are the main categories: archaeology, comparative religion, ethics, history, languages and literature, jurisprudence, which is the law, legal, philosophy, history, theory, and the criticism, not just arts, but criticism of the arts as well. In Wikipedia, when you look it up, it's classics, history, languages, literature, law, performing arts, philosophy, religion, and visual arts. So, to boil this down for our class, what are we doing? What is this all about? Here's the definition that I want you to walk away from today with today, and that is Though the humanities are those fields of study which convey the human experience, what it means to be human, what it means to be alive as a human being through the subjective means as opposed to empirical analysis. So, subjective, that's highly personal, that is not some kind of objective empirical truth, but very subjective. Ultimately, it's about telling stories. It's about telling our stories, whether we tell our stories through the arts, through dance, through music, through literature, through language. It's about how we tell our stories. For the purposes of this class, that means languages and literature, social sciences. We're going to be talking about a little bit of all of those. But the main categories that we're going to be looking at this semester and next semester are performing arts, philosophy, religion, visual arts and architecture, and mythology. Specifically, this semester, we're going to start the year off with this idea of cultural literacy and what it means to be culturally literate. Um, we'll talk more about that, obviously, once we get started. The next unit is one of my favorites, and that is comparative religions. I am not an expert on other people's religions. What I will try to do is I will try to bring in experts. So if we might have several Zoom meetings with a rabbi, with a Buddhist monk, with a Christian preacher. So we're going to try and bring in experts and then share with you. Then we go to music. Again, I'm not a music expert, so I will try to bring in some people here to help with music and opera. We might take a look at sonnets and poetry, and then we will end the year in art. Specifically, I like to look at architecture. Again, I am not an architect, so I will try to bring in someone with some expertise there. One of the reasons why in the past people really looked forward to the class is because of the field trips that we would go on. Because a lot of what we are talking about here, you can sure read about it, but that's not experiencing it. So, one of the important things about the humanities, at least from my perspective, is that you get a chance to experience the art, the music, the architecture, the religion from the perspective of those who either created it or who built it or who are practicing the religion. So it's unfortunate we will not be able to do the field trips this year, but I still plan on zooming experts in if we have to. Maybe later on in the year, we can actually get them into the building. So that's the overview of what we're going to be doing in Lit and Culture. Thanks for listening.